What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Horror Thoughts. I'm Scott. I'm joined with my co host, Sean, and we are here to talk about the newest Netflix horror film, which I guess there's 1,000 a day on Netflix at this point, but the most anticipated, I would say, the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and what our thoughts and feelings are. And that's about all I can offer that movie as a sigh. Sean, how'd you feel? Just first impressions.
Well, I don't know if I'd call it a piece of art, but I'd call it a piece of something. Um, like usually when we do new movies, it's probably best to at first kind of just do general spoiler-free thoughts.
Yeah.
And to start with kindness, I do think this is probably the best Chainsaw movie in a good 20 years.
It's not saying much, unfortunately.
No, it is not. But I do think this is a bit better than the last couple of ones. There was stuff I liked, and we can get into that. I don't think it's a complete shit show from beginning to end. Like, I don't think it's awful, but it is not very good.
Isn't it sad that for this franchise is the mark of a good movie in the franchise? It's not awful, but it's just not really that good. You're like, oh, wow, top 5, okay.
I mean, it might be.
That's what I'm saying. It's I haven't put it in my ranking list yet, but I mean it's up there, which is so disappointing. Yeah, to keep it spoiler free at the start. I honestly got what I expected I was going to get. When I saw the trailer, I was pretty disappointed with the trailer, and I was thinking it's just going to be another run-of-the-mill Netflix horror movie. I don't know if they have a genre name for Netflix horror movies, but there's a certain style that all these movies have where I already know.
I think just Netflix horror, streaming horror,
something. They need their own genre because they're so cookie cutter, and that's what it's like. It's gonna be it's gonna be a Texas Chainsaw movie in the sense that it's in Texas and there's a chainsaw in it.
There is in fact a chainsaw.
So I was like, that's about
they hit
all
the
that
two
movie
boxes.
Yeah, they nailed all of it. There was a massacre, there was a chainsaw, and it was in Texas. So I will give them that.
The title isn't a lie.
It's not a lie.
I mean, I will say, not to throw streaming entirely under the bus, because I think Shudder gets a lot of cool exclusives and originals. It is specifically Netflix. Netflix original horror is real rough, and the only exceptions you can find to that are things that were not made for Netflix. Things like the Fear Street movies, which were made for Fox, but then when Disney bought them, Netflix acquired those movies. So they kind of don't count.
Yeah. Yeah, Netflix says that they just pump out so many that it's like quantity over quality is what it feels
No,
like.
that's exactly it. It's a matter of getting content out there, and we don't care what it is.
And
we need stuff on the app.
I feel like they know their audience well. Like that's gonna, if you're I'll say this. I guess this would be a spoiler free. If you were from 12 to 18, if you're like a teenager and you're not that into horror or something, and you saw this movie, I bet it would be pretty scary. And Netflix is good at that. And that I think if you're an avid horror fan, I don't think it's going to be your deal. But I'm thinking just from a layman kid, Netflix going to junior high the next day to talk about a movie or something that was so terrifying. I bet they know their market. And that's why they put up a lot of cheesy horror, not cheesy, but not the best horror movies, because they're just trying to pump them out so quick. Generic. Yeah, there you go. And that's how I felt about this movie. That's about all the spoiler free I can give, unless you have more. Because
no, we can get into it a little more. If you haven't seen the movie yet, watch it, or if you don't care.
Yeah,
there isn't a whole lot to spoil. I would say there's only one thing that I would consider like a big spoiler, because other than that, it's exactly what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, it's watch it if you want to. That's about all I can. I wouldn't.
I imagine anyone looking at this has already seen it.
I would hope so. If you haven't, you're not missing much. So I guess spoilers are gonna start in three, two, one. I don't even know where to start with this
I,
whole movie.
I have a place to start,
Let's hear it.
which is this movie is a little similar to Texas Chainsaw 3D in that there are base premise things that you kind of just have to accept, even though they don't make sense. And if you can't, they're going to bug you the entire movie. And I couldn't get past it, which is that this is a direct sequel to one. It's a 50 years later story. Leatherface should be 80. He's massive. He doesn't have a single gray hair. We see him without the mask. He's not gray hair. He's incredibly strong and fast. Like, he's really capable in this. And then we see Sally, who's very old. And it's like, how is Leatherface not an old, crippled man?
Yeah.
And then the orphanage thing of like, he was in this orphanage in this town that's near the Sawyer house, maybe. And Sally looked for him for 30 to 40 years, but couldn't find him, even though he's just sitting in an orphanage over there.
Did they explain why he went to the orphanage?
No. My sister and I watched it with my little sister who I live with. And when the mom died, we were like, well, great. There goes the one person that could have explained that for us.
That's
no one else is going to know.
That's where I was questioning it. Like, it would be randomly through the movie. I'd be watching it. It wouldn't even be about the orphanage. I'd be like, but why was he an orphan? Like, it would come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't understand. So I'm like, it was a year after the first event, but if you're going just off the first one, they never got caught. They never got arrested. They never got captured. So why would he have been abandoned?
Yeah. Like what happened?
Yeah, so that annoyed me throughout the whole movie.
I have a bet that this started as like a reboot that wasn't supposed to be connected, and then maybe Halloween 2018 made them rethink that. And through Sally feels really forced in.
Oh my god!
To be honest, like really forced in. Like they feel like they're from separate movies because this does not work as a sequel to the original film in any remote way possible. It does. This Leatherface feels nothing like Leatherface. I was telling my sister he feels more like Rob Zombie's Michael Myers.
Yes,
that was the vibe I got. Which, in its own context, I did enjoy. The stuff that I enjoyed in this movie were just little Leatherface moments here and there. He does a couple of really badass moves. When he kind of like slides the chainsaw across the floor and hits her ankle. I thought that was really clever.
Oh, I hated that.
Oh, I thought that was cool. And when he like just like fucking tosses that hammer and it just hits that girl square in the chest and knocks her down to the floor. Some of the more over-the-top badass moments I thought were fun. But again, it's very not Leatherface.
So I would have, like you were talking about, him seeming like Rob Zombie's Halloween style of character and being in the right context, I would have appreciated the fucking chainsaw skip and the hammer throw if it wasn't coming from supposed to be the first Leatherface from because that's not how he acted in any facet in any way in the first one. He had no motor. He was just a man-child. He had no motor skills. He had no coordination. It was just attack this thing, not let me hide a chainsaw over here and I'll sneak around and then I'll pop out. Like that kind of stuff. That it just wasn't very fitting. I don't know if you have one. It's pretty short, but I made a pros and cons list. My pros is very, very short. I have three. The swinging door kill I thought was dope.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. That was cinematography. Right. The gore was insane. It was like the hammer smash scene that was pretty brutal looking. And the autopilot where they're driving away, I thought was funny.
I really liked that ending when he takes that girl's heads off and he just fucking holds it to her. Yeah. Like, what? What are you gonna do?
Come back, bitch.
Like, I thought that was kind of badass. That was cool. Feels very un-Leatherface.
Oh, for sure.
but it's a cool thing. Like
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's awesome.
the idea, because I was like, he's gonna come back for.
Yeah. The
He's always
second
gonna
they
come
open
back.
that sunroof, you're like, okay.
Yeah, fucking. You have a chainsaw. You got this dude in front of you. He's been shot 8 times, and you're gonna uppercut him to the chin bone. That's it. You're gonna stab it through him. You're not gonna impale the guy. You're just gonna cut his front of his face off and think he's not gonna come back. Ugh.
I also don't like that just because Leatherface isn't supernatural. It ties into the
No.
old age thing. Like I can accept Michael being old because Michael's not a person.
Yeah.
Leatherface is just a dude. And so he takes some hits where I'm like, how are you getting back up?
Well, shit. The fact that he was still going after that one dude, who the dude from the hometown, he comes in to save the day,
Mm-hmm.
and he's beating the shit out of Leatherface. He
Mm-hmm.
breaks his arm against the window pane and all this stuff, and he just gets up like nothing happened. I'm like, you're 85. Like, if I went to an old folks home and just pushed someone, they're down for the count forever. They're done. You just got in a fist fight with a 30-year-old dude, and you're like, nah, that's cool. I'm good.
And I feel like it'd be easier to accept if they just didn't keep bringing up the first movie and the fact that it's been 50 years. Like if they would just shut up about that, I would be able to kind of get my brain out of there. But they keep bringing it up, and it's like, why was no one questioning that he's an old man?
Yeah. They would have been better off just clean slating it, dude. Just like they
Yes.
did something.
Or it's a new Leatherface. And you
Yeah.
can do like a twist where like the OG Leatherface is more like grandpa now.
Something.
Like something would have helped.
I'll just start from the beginning. There's so many things in this movie. I honestly watched this movie like this most of the time. I was like, oh my God, this is the amount of things you're talking about, like forcing in the orphanage, forcing it. This
Mhm.
whole movie, they forced in everything.
It's a very
Everything.
contrived movie.
There was no need for like this isn't a pro anti-gun whatever, but the fact that they bring that up
Mhm.
one time and then it does not matter to anything. You already know, oh, at the end she's going to pick up a gun.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like there was no backstory as to why that happened, why it matters that it happened. All that matters is she got shot once, and that's it. There wasn't like some crazy moment where she picks up the gun to shoot Leatherface and she's having flashbacks and has to fight through it. Nothing. She's just it's just a thing they said.
Yeah.
And then it meant nothing.
It feels like, because I do think that was maybe a good idea to give this a bit more character, to have like a survivor of a school shooting or whatever. That's not inherently a bad idea. That sounds like a good story to me, but it just has nothing to do with anything.
They added no arc to it.
Yeah, it's just kind of her backstory.
Yeah, that's what's horrible is that if you're going, I feel like you have two options. You can either A, give no background to characters and just go slasher style and just destroy people, or if you're gonna give a character arc, give a fucking character arc. Don't make it her character arc is she was shot once. Okay, like that does nothing for this story.
Yeah.
You feel, and the little bit you do feel for these characters, you're like, I fucking want them to die. They're obnoxious.
Big mistake, whatever number we're on, because there's a lot. Wow, I wish this movie was not about influencers.
Yeah.
Good God. Oh man, these characters suck.
Yeah, the main girl she was so rude to that guy at the gas station for
just
no
out of
fucking
nowhere.
reason. Like, whether again, it's not a pro-gun, anti-gun thing. It's just being a decent human being. Like he's there pumping gas.
Yeah, he just pulls up and then she immediately is like, "Oh, this person's a piece of shit." And the dude's like, "What?"
Yeah, he's like,
"Just getting gas."
Yeah, and also maybe if you pull up in a town with no one in it and a dude who's open carrying shows up, that's not usually the person you just want to start fucking poking.
Yeah, for real.
Like, you dumbass. Like this.
Wait till you're in the car.
Yeah, dude. You're in a small town. No one gives a fuck that you're here, and no one wants you here in the first place. You're buying their fucking town, or lack thereof, town.
I will say, I kind of liked that setting.
That was a
This
good idea.
this kind of old, like Western looking abandoned town. I thought that was kind of a neat idea.
Yeah, I liked the idea and the build up to it, but
And it's a cool location. It looks cool.
and this is maybe I'm an asshole. I don't know. But if I had bought all of this property, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's supposed to be out of this property, and I
Yeah.
go into this house that is mine,
Mm-hmm.
and an old lady's still in it, and I tell her to leave, and she dies because of a heart attack, that's not my fault. Like, I didn't kill this lady. Like, I'm sorry. We're like, we got to go to the hospital. She's dead. There, go. I'd be like, go cry in the fucking corner over there. Like, shut up. Like, sad that she's dead, but not my problem. Really, it's really not. And that one girl took it so to heart. It's like, as time goes on, you realize that yes, that lady shouldn't have been removed. But I'm talking at the initial start of it,
Sure.
right at the beginning. It's like, that's not my problem. I bought this property. Bye. If she has a heart attack when she's leaving, that's not my fault. And that one girl, that's where she drew the line, which blew my mind. I was like, you already accosted this dude at the gas station. You've already been a bitch to your sister, but now's where you feel bad?
And maybe that was a rewrite thing where they realized they had written that character to be kind of irritating, we'll say. And so they were trying to like give her some like redeeming qualities because she's also very mean to her sister.
Horribly mean, yeah.
Like, who's, again, as we've mentioned, survived a school shooting and is clearly not okay.
You couldn't live without me.
Like,
wow.
You're a dick.
Okay.
You're a bad person. I'm glad your head got cut off.
Exactly. And so that's why it made no sense to me why she felt so strongly about this lady. It's like, as obviously as the movie goes on, you find out she still owned the house.
Yeah, they were wrong.
They were wrong. But before you knew you were wrong, why the hell now you're some saint? It's like, you've been nothing but a bitch this whole time.
But then the guy, he was way too mean about it.
Yeah.
So like they're on these complete opposite ends of the spectrum where like one is not sympathetic at all and a douche, and this one is entirely too sympathetic.
Yeah, I would have been like, hey, we do own this. The cops are gonna come. But this is mine. So there's that part right there annoyed me. But the things they tried to shoehorn in that never really mattered. Anything like the whole Confederate flag part. I was thinking there's going to be some deeper thing later in the movie. Nope, just wanted to show that
just there's
a Confederate flag there, and that this white guy he made take it down is going to ultimately try and save him. It's like, yeah, no shit, like that. What you're not like. It's like they wanted to take a stand like Candyman, with like, for this movie, this whole thing is going to be revolutionary. And they did none of it. They just like showed imagery and they're like, what do you think of that?
Yeah.
It's not going to come back later.
And I don't know how much Scream deals with this, though I think it's maybe talked about in Scream. But I do think there is this sort of idea that, elevated horror has come in, horror that really does talk about stuff and is a little maybe deeper than certain horror movies of the past. Not all horror, of course. And I think the current slasher films have tried to kind of adapt to that. We saw it, in the Halloween films, dealing with like trauma and mob mentality. And this probably feels a pressure to do that, but doesn't know how to do it. So it's just kind of like, there's racism in Texas.
Yeah, that was all they said was this town was racist. I'm like, okay. Like, what do you want me to do with
it's
that?
It's a contrivance to get them in the house.
Yeah.
Like, it has a plot function, but like, I can rewrite that right now. They see someone in the window. Done.
Anything. You own the fucking town and you want to go look in the house. Like, there's any number of reasons you could go in that house. Hey, we own this. Let's go look in it.
One of the funniest moments of the movie for me, the finale ends up in that theater. And the theater is a piece of shit. Like, it is run down. And my sister and I, when we saw like the pool, like the caved in floor in the middle of the room, both said at the same time, they were gonna sell this to who?
Dude,
Like,
I
I would
never,
not buy this.
dude, I didn't even think about that. Think about how much money it would cost to renovate all this
Yeah,
versus how much traffic you're going to have coming through here, which is very little. It's going to be niche people
yeah.
who are like, oh, I want to go do this thing. That's it. Like, it's not going to be casual people. You're so far
Mhm.
out of the way.
Yeah,
The only people who give a shit about you are going to go. That's crazy.
yeah.
Wow.
And then like the black guy has a line where he's like, "Oh, it'll need a paint job," and then the black girl is like, "No, it's perfect as is," and I'm like, "No, it isn't. I
No,
would not go here.
this is condemned.
This
It'd be
is cool for a movie,
a
when I'm looking at it on a screen. If I was there, I'd be very irritated."
it, it would make a great comic book store. I remember she said that. I'm like, no,
They
it
did say that.
wouldn't.
Why would I go? Comics barely sell in normal stores. I
Like
would
you,
not go
but
there.
yeah, you're only gonna appeal to like the hipster niche influencer crowd. I'm not gonna go to that place,
No.
and I live in Texas, right? So no one that I it's such a small market, and they're like, let's own a whole town. We'll start over. I'm like,
Yeah.
when they said start over, like we can make it a new place. I'm like, it's not a new country, you dumbass. Like it's still the United States. You still have laws and shit. Like it'll be a whole new place until it's the same as every other place in the country. ah, yeah, that bothered me. There was like random little. These are like nitpicks, but I was already so
Sure.
annoyed with the movie that
Yeah.
that whatever.
Mhm.
They would miss like their continuity and like just filming errors. Like the part wherever they're leaving the gas station and the dude in his truck, he goes in front of him and he rolls coal and black smokes him, right?
Yeah.
As soon as he does that, they get pulled over by the cops. That truck's not there anymore.
He's gone.
He's gone, and it's a 1-lane road. That like I was like,
He saw
really?
cops and gunned it to 100.
Yeah, I'm like, he's flying. There's no cops when he's doing it. I get, granted, it's his hometown. Obviously, they're probably not gonna, but he wasn't even on the road anymore. Like he just didn't exist.
And like we see a shot where we can see pretty far down.
He's not there. First
Yeah,
thing I
like we
noticed.
can see quite a bit.
And again, I know it's a nitpick, but when I'm already annoyed with how a movie's going,
Yeah.
oh, I'm seeing everything. Another one I saw was
Yeah.
whenever she first walks in to his shop and he's got his AR laying there and she's like, "Is it loaded?" And he drops the mag, clears the chamber, shows her, "No, it's not loaded, whatever." So he clearly has a magazine with a round in it. That's how he carries it. Later in the movie, when he's like, he's gonna go into the house with his pistol, he's like, "Let's do this." Puts a magazine in it and then cocks it. I'm like, you're carrying around a pistol with nothing in it? You didn't even have a magazine in it?
Huh.
Like that's just one of those action movie things where like they shoot 50 bullets and you're like, how the like
Yeah.
y'all didn't reload once? It was that kind of thing where it's like he's like, "I'll go in there." Like you had no ammo in your pistol. You carry it in that all day, but you have a pistol on your hip and you're like, nah. I don't
And
know.
like when you're enjoying a movie, you don't think about that because
Yeah,
you're
you
just
won't
like,
notice
it's cool, I don't care. But when you're
Exactly.
annoyed, you're like, oh, fuck you.
Every little thing I could find, I'm like, that's
Yeah.
bullshit. You wouldn't do that.
I will give them credit for that nitpick because that sets up later on when she grabs that gun and then it doesn't do anything because it's not loaded.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was one of the like things you could count on one hand that was
Yeah, that was a good
competent.
Yeah, the way they played that was smart, but the
I will say, and I don't want to be mean, even though I have been mean on past episodes.
I'm excited to hear what you're about to say.
I don't think this is very well directed.
Oh, not at all.
There is stuff in this script where if you just told me this is going to happen, I'd be like, okay, I'm kind of excited to see that. And then it would happen. And then I'd be like, I feel nothing. That did nothing for me. The big example being the party bus sequence. There's this party bus. There's a bunch of dumbasses on it. You know Leatherface is getting on that party bus. And I was like,
Yeah.
all else fails. That scene's going to be cool.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't.
No, it was too I was thinking it when I was watching it. I don't have a word for it. It just wasn't there was nothing gravitating towards it. It was just kind of run
it
of the mill.
wasn't it wasn't exciting. There wasn't
Yeah.
really tension. It wasn't over the top enough. Like, I mean, the best point of comparison I can throw it to is Freddy versus Jason. That the cornyard. Is that the right term for that?
When they're in the
The
cornfield.
cornfield, and Jason gets lit on fire and he just starts
Yeah.
fucking mowing through people. Like, that is a scene like that I think is done really, really well. And just the idea of Leatherface just being in this tiny space with like what 20, 30 people, and that he's just going to mow through them. That seemed really exciting. And watching it, I was like, this is kind of lame. The blood is pretty CG and not great looking.
Yeah.
None of the deaths were super fun. And most of the people were just kind of going like, I don't know.
The lack of practical effects was, I feel like, a missed opportunity. I feel like they really did CGI the shit out of this movie.
Yeah. Because there were things where I was like, that doesn't look real.
Uh,
And that, frankly, when slasher films are bad, you can, well, in the old days, you could at least kind of take solace in like, well, the kills might be fun. Like, if you watch even one of the worst Friday the 13th movies, you'll get enjoyment out of seeing whatever crazy special effect they came up with for that one. And this one doesn't even have that going for it.
No. The biggest bullshit is that he pulled a chainsaw out from behind sheetrock after 40 years and started that bitch after 3 pulls. I can go buy a brand new chainsaw and fucking prime it up. It'll still take me 5 pulls to start that motherfucker.
He always starts it pretty quick.
Dude, that pisses me off I won't lie. Every Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, the biggest nitpick I have is like, oh, bullshit that he keeps starting it like that. There's no way.
And sometimes it'll just be one. He'll just do it once and it'll be like, whoa.
No, never.
And so whenever they do it 3 or 4 times, I'm like,
there we go.
They're trying to compromise.
Yeah, the bus scene. Did you? It just came out, I guess, a few months ago. Did you ever see the movie Nobody?
Mm-mm.
So it's not a horror movie; it's like an action movie. But it has a bus scene where, I guess, spoiler, not spoiler, but there's a scene where it's him and he's got to take on these 10, 12 dudes, and this bus scene takes like 5-10 minutes. But
I've seen that trailer. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's done so well at keeping the tension that you're talking about. With this, there's 30 people on a bus. You're not gonna get out. So it's just them like slapping each other and doing nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all been better off all running at him than y'all would doing whatever the fuck y'all are doing. Just
Did you
slapping
like the
each
canceled
other.
joke?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Not great.
Not at all, because it was so forced. This whole movie is forced. Like,
even that is kind of a good idea. Like, tension-wise, is Leatherface shows up and everybody pulls out their phones. But they don't really do anything with that either. Like, we just see a couple comments where they're like, freak. And it's like, Halloween Resurrection did that 20 years ago. Like, you don't got anything better? Halloween Resurrection is not a hard, like, bar to clear.
Yeah. Why? I know why they decided to bring Sally back. Had to have been because of Halloween 2018.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit about her? At least in Halloween, you have this storyline that's had Jamie Lee Curtis in it throughout multiple films.
Mm-hmm.
With this one, arguably, there's only 3 good movies in the franchise. I think anyone would agree that there's only a handful of good ones. Sally was in one of them, and that was from 50 fucking years ago. And she's never mentioned again. And now they're like, we'll bring her back. People are going to love it. Most people watching probably don't even know who the fuck she is, to be honest.
Yeah.
You're either a Texas Chainsaw fan and you know who she is, or you're just a casual person on Netflix going, why do I care about her?
I think most of those people, the casual Netflix people, would just be like, oh, she's from an older movie, and just not think about it more than that.
And that doesn't land for, I don't feel like it landed for anybody, for any audience.
Well, and it's worse because Marilyn Burns, because we talked about this on a previous episode when the trailer revealed that Sally was in this. And we were like, well, who cares about, because we brought up the difference between Jamie Lee Curtis and this actress, Marilyn Burns. Marilyn Burns is fucking dead and has been dead for years. So this isn't even the same actress.
Yeah.
So like I can't even care from that point of view. There's a lot to unpack with
Uh,
Sally. Sally is might be my least favorite part of the movie.
yeah.
And even that Laurie comparison, even if Laurie wasn't in the other Halloweens, I feel like she would still be kind of an iconic part of that first movie in a way that Sally just isn't.
No, because Sally didn't.
Sally's just a victim.
Yeah, she's just a survivor. Like she didn't do anything really. Um,
She jumped out a window. Good job. That was badass. But like,
um, she reminded me. I don't know if you'll feel the same, but she seemed so crazy at the beginning. She had like Donald Pleasance energy, where I'm like, she's creepier than the fucking killer. Like she locks him in the back of the car, and she's like, she wants you.
yeah.
He wants you.
Is she leaving? Is she living in the Sawyer house?
That's what it looked like.
I was like,
I
what?
looked like it.
That's nuts. And then I thought, oh, well, we're going to go there. That's where the finale is going to be, is we're going to get back to the house. And then no, she just lives in the Sawyer house.
And again,
because
it hits on no level, because either A, you've never seen the original, so you don't give a fuck about her house.
It's just
or
a house.
B, you're a Texas Chainsaw fan and you go, oh shit, that's the old house. And then they do nothing with it. You're like,
yeah, it's just, look, it's the thing. Like, I'm surprised a girl in red shorts didn't walk by.
Yeah, for real. There's just a generator running in the background the whole time. Like, yeah, it was. She had that Donald Pleasance energy. I'm like, she's fucking crazy.
Donald Pleasance Halloween 5 energy.
Yeah, that
you're
energy.
You're a lunatic.
You're unhinged. And they're like,
also incompetent. Oh my God. Even if you were on board or excited for Sally, I can only see this pissing you off.
Yeah.
Because she's an idiot. She has him point blank and monologues.
Say my name.
Say my name. He doesn't talk. He's an idiot.
One, he doesn't talk. Two, he never knew your fucking name. It's never said in the original. He doesn't go, hey, Sally. Never fucking said. And then she goes, for Franklin, for Jerry, for... He doesn't know any of these people either.
And Leatherface has the correct response. He just goes, weirdo, and leaves the room.
Just walks off. And then she goes, you don't even remember me. And I get the point was supposed to be like, I had all these years of trauma.
Yeah.
And I don't even matter to you. But you're talking to a simpleton. Nothing matters to him. Like, it would be different if you're talking to fucking Michael and you're Lori or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, some deep connection there. But all he knows is that these people yelled at him to slaughter you. That's about it.
And like, again, it's a decent idea, but then the way it's played is just, this is stupid. Just fucking shoot him. Like, good God. And then she just like runs up to him like she's going to fight and just gets wasted.
Oh my God.
Like, she has 2 minutes. She lasts 2 minutes.
How she was not when she came back and shot, I went, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Because she had a chainsaw through her fucking abdomen and was picked up off the ground. 5 minutes later, she's like, let me give him another monologue. Here's your shotgun.
Yeah.
No,
I got more lines.
You're fucking dead. Like,
I'm getting paid by the word.
Dude, it was insane. I'm like, she's for sure dead. The only Halloween Kills might have not made me as annoyed as that did. Like, and I hated that ending where I'm like, just finish the fucking job. And that was one where she just got a gun right to him. And you're like, do it.
Yeah, in the house, he's just sitting there and his back's to her. Just shoot him. Good God.
I know that every horror movie has that trope where they always end up getting caught up and all those things, whatever. But God damn it, to a point, it's like, okay.
At a certain point, you cross that line where, like, I don't buy that. Like, you tell me she hunted this guy for 30, 40 years and she's not going to take the shot?
How long do you think she planned that monologue in the mirror for 40 years? She's like, just imagine seeing him. She's like, for Jerry, no, I should say Franklin first. For Franklin, no, I don't like that either. She's had a lot of time to practice it. So
what if they had done the Halloween Kills thing? You know, for Dr. Loomis, click.
Imagine she goes out there with no shells in her fucking shotgun. That would have been hilarious. I'd have been like, "Are you serious?" Part of me expected it to happen at that point in the movie. I was like,
Yeah.
"Fuck, I wouldn't be surprised." Fuck it.
Honestly, it's funny we keep bringing up Halloween Kills. One of the first things I thought after I was done is, oh, this is how he felt watching Halloween Kills. Because every single time a character made a decision, I was like, that is the dumbest possible thing you could have done. What is wrong with you?
That was it. Dude, you want to know what would have made this one of the best movies of all time? And it's all I could fucking think about. And I pray to God that they have like a blooper reel where this is a real thing. Is the first time that Leatherface pulls the girl into the pool, right? And they go under for like 5-10 seconds.
Yeah.
If he would have came up like the Leatherface 3, Texas Chainsaw 3 Excalibur thing, dude.
Yeah.
I would have been
man.
ecstatic, man. I'd be like, best movie of all time.
Me too. They would have gotten me on that. That brings up another thing for me. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I literally was like yelling at the screen, like, how did she get out of that?
They
go underwater and she just gets up, and I'm like, she won that? She won that fight?
You have a 300-pound man grabbing a hold of a 100-pound child and just pulling her under the water, and she gets away.
She just gets away somehow.
Like, what in the hell? You'd have a better fucking chance in the water with Jaws probably than you would with fucking Leatherface getting a hold of you. And she's like, I'm fine. I'm good.
Sometimes I've seen people throw complaints at a couple of the last Scream movies for having kind of smaller female killers that can take out bigger guys, but I think those movies pull that off pretty well. This is too much.
there's elements of surprise, there's weapons, but you have someone who's 200 pounds heavier than you pulling you underwater.
Someone who is clearly superhuman, by the way.
Oh, that's true.
He's superhuman in this movie.
Did you do a bullet count of how many times he got shot? Because it had to have been at least 5.
It's quite a bit.
Got shot
Michael levels, but it was quite a bit.
He got shot to the point where I'm like, he's 80, right? Like a 20-year-old's not going to be moving around after this. He's like 80.
There was something at the end there where he was just standing there taking it.
Yeah.
It wasn't affecting them. He was just standing there. Maybe, and I don't know, was that at the end when they were shooting him before she got him with the chainsaw?
Yeah. Probably. There were so many parts that were like, he's dead. Nope. And he's dead. Nope. And it's the same thing.
How did he stop a bus? The bus is moving and he just stops it somehow.
There's so many things about this movie.
It's not even fun bad. It's just dumb.
The initial part where she's like looking in the side view and she can see him like cutting that girl's face off, or that dude, that was kind of cool. It's like, that looks pretty cool looking. So there were little moments where I was like, that's not bad. And then there were other moments where it was just abysmal. There was the things that I liked weren't good enough to even start overshadowing the things that annoyed the shit out of me.
There were shots where I was like, that's a neat shot.
I love the reason. I think he's in like a sunflower field or something, and it's just a wide open field. He just stands up. It's like, that's fucking cool.
That was cool. The reveal of his mom when Sally finds her, that was a good shot. Some of the lighting was neat here and there, the way they used natural light. And again, there were good ideas. Like, conceptually, I can see this kind of working, but then that makes it more frustrating when it doesn't work. Well, it's not like some of the other Texas Chainsaw movies that I think are kind of dead on arrival. Like, you just sort of hear the idea and you're like, oh, that wasn't smart.
You couldn't be talking about Next Generation.
Honestly, you could guess like 5 of these and you'd be correct.
Well, what surprised me, and I guess I just didn't do enough research, was I was so psyched for Fede Alvarez to be a part of this. I was like, I'm curious to see what he does. I thought he was going to direct it, and then I found out he just produced it. It's like, damn. Because I remember watching it, I was thinking, Fede Alvarez made this. And then after I looked it up, and I was like, oh, he was just...
Yeah, just producer. I'm not familiar with the director. I don't know if he's done anything else.
Let's take a look here.
Good.
Considering his Wikipedia, it doesn't have any entry for him. I would assume he hasn't done
bad sign.
David His name is David Blue Garcia.
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
He's listed as a cinematographer from Austin, Texas.
Oh,
Let's see
one
what we
of
got here.
those. Okay.
What the fuck? David Blue Garcia is an Emmy Award-winning director slash cinematographer based in Austin, Texas, and makes a living shooting television commercials. He produced his first feature film, Tejano, which premiered in 2018 in Dallas.
That's cool.
So he's a Tejano, Bloodfest. That's his two other movies before that.
Okay.
So I've never seen either of those. I don't know anything
Me
about
neither.
him, so I can't throw any shade at this man. But
Yeah. And I wouldn't want to. I just don't think.
yeah,
Again, I just don't think this is particularly well directed.
no.
And even like the problems I have with 2018 Halloween, the problems you have with Halloween Kills, those things are so well directed and so well put together.
Yeah.
And it's not a money thing. Those weren't expensive movies. It's a talent and effort thing.
Yeah.
Not that this guy doesn't have talent. Again, I'm trying not to be mean.
Yeah, I just feel there was a lot of good options for this that just fell flat, and a lot of, not even just from direction, just from certain writing aspect. Like again, like trying to shoehorn in the social side of it. It's like, if your movie makes a social statement and it makes sense for the movie, that's awesome. If it doesn't, it's okay. You can just be a scary movie.
I'm curious if they were maybe in a rush to make this because Netflix acquired the rights from Lionsgate. Lionsgate made Texas Chainsaw 3D and then Leatherface, but they took so long to make Leatherface that they lost the rights, because typically rights are on like a timer. Not always, but sometimes, where you have to get a movie made in a certain amount of time, and they missed that mark with Leatherface. So that's when they lost the rights. So I'm curious if like they were just racing against the clock and they were like, just get it out. Like, just get it done. But I don't know.
I'm trying to think of other horror movies that I think would be hilarious if they tried to reboot. Like they saw the Halloween 2018 thing, like, let's bring back the Survivor. I was trying to think of movies. Like, what movie would be hilarious if
they brought honestly, back Friday the 13th, because we've gone so far beyond that original killer and that original survivor that bringing either of them back would just be ridiculous and no one would care.
Which one was it? I think it's the second one. And they have that annoying character. I can't think of his fucking name, but he's always playing the jokes and he's always funny. But that
might be the first one, because he shoots archery at the girl and he's like running around dressed as a Native American.
No, not that guy. I'm gonna have to look it up, because
Shelley?
Not, definitely not Shelley. I cannot forget Shelley. No, this guy, he goes through he never dies and they never touch on it. I'll fucking find it, dude.
Does he have red hair?
Yes.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. He doesn't really do much in that movie.
No, but he never dies. So he's the only one I can think of. Yeah, because
he's safe at the bar, because like half the people go party at the bar and are just safe.
And yeah, and he stays. So I'm like,
yeah, bring him back.
Bring him back as the lead. People are like,
that would be more ridiculous than bringing Sally back. There's some merit to bringing Sally back.
No, I want it to get as ridiculous as possible. I want it to be the last person that people would think of. They'd be like,
sure, Shelley.
What was that? What's his name? Reggie from the fifth one?
Reggie the Reckless.
Just bring Reggie back, and people will be like,
man.
Even diehard Friday the 13th fans would be like, who is
Reggie the Reckless?
Who is that?
I think Friday the 13th fans would embrace it. I think they'd be into it. They know it was stupid. They'd be like, you know what? Yeah.
That's my favorite of the big three. I'd be like, fuck it, let's do it. Like, let's get weird with it. I don't care. We've already been to space. We've already been to hell. Fuck it. Let's see.
Now I want him back.
What if
I want Reggie the Reckless's revenge?
I guess they already did this in the TV show. I can't spoil it. Hey, if anyone wants to watch the Exorcist TV show from 10 years ago or 5 years ago, about to spoil it.
Oh, I forgot about that on Fox.
Yeah, so me and my wife started watching it a couple months ago. Yeah. Not gonna lie, pretty fucking good.
Really?
Like, actually, and everyone knows Exorcist is my favorite, and everything that they've made after that is just terrible, minus the third one. The third one's pretty good. So the TV show, I went in with the lowest of expectations. I really did. And obviously they can't be as vulgar or aggressive because it's on TV,
Or
but
intense,
the drama side of it, of them trying to solve this thing, it's more, that's the more interesting part than the scary part. It's not going to scare you, but it's the drama part. But I was going to say, imagine if they brought, spoiler, if they brought Linda Blair's character back, and they definitely do that in the show. Kind of. They bring, it was kind of interesting because this fuck, I don't want to get into the whole Exorcist, but I was trying to think, how could they shoehorn the Exorcist back in? I was like, they could bring back Linda Blair.
I mean, if you're gonna bring a character back from the first one, Linda Blair is the one I would want to see, because I think the new ones are bringing back her mom, and I'm like, I don't fucking care about her mom.
They brought back the mom in the TV show too.
Oh, really? That's interesting. That then she's going to be in the David Gordon Green stuff. Is it the same actress?
It's not the same actress, just the character.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, the character came back.
Now I get it. But the same token, I would have said the same thing about bringing back Father Karras, and 3 did that in a really interesting, cool way.
Yeah, I did like 3. You want to talk about a real good movie? The second one. That's an icon.
Do you think that kind of killed Linda Blair's career a little? You think that kind of?
I would imagine so. One,
that's probably the last you heard of her.
I would imagine you're already typecast as the demon girl, and then
I think after that she just went to like exploitation stuff.
Let's see what she did here.
I know she's in that Wes Craven movie, the TV movie, which would have been maybe before or after Exorcist 2. I can't.
All right, so I'm just looking here. Exorcist, Exorcist 2, Savage Streets, Repossessed, Born Innocent, Hell Night, Chained Heat, Roller Boogie, Savage Island, Red Heat, Stranger in Our House.
That's the Wes Craven movie.
Witchery, Sweet Hostage, Sorceress, Night Patrol, Fatal Bond, Ruckus, Bedroom Eyes 2, The Green Fairy, Bailout, Dead Sleep. Well, she's been in a lot of movies.
Yeah. I've never, like low rent, like cheap kind of stuff.
You're telling me you've never seen Wild Horse Hank?
I have not seen Wild Horse Hank.
Or what else do we got here?
She has a cameo in Scream.
Yeah, she's got a lot of movies there. I heard of 2 of them.
And they're both the Exorcist movies.
They're both the Exorcist movies. Oh, I guess we can end it with, do you want to see it? You definitely don't want to see. Do you think there's going to be a follow-up to this?
I saw a lot of people talking about it and watching it, so I'm sure it did numbers for them. And honestly, I'd watch another one. I'm maybe not from this creative team. Like if I saw it was the same director and same writers, I'd probably be like, I'm good. But like I don't mind seeing another one. I don't mind seeing this leather. I wouldn't mind seeing this Leatherface in a new context, separated from the other movies.
That's fair. So you wouldn't want this girl to come back for revenge for her headless sister? You just want that one kind of clean slated?
That is a cool ending. No, I wouldn't. I'd just take this Leatherface and do something new with him.
Yeah.
But again, that's just because I love Halloween and I love Michael Myers. And that's the place they were winning me, is when it was reminding me of Halloween.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think I'm in a place where Texas Chainsaw fans are going to be more upset with this than I am. Because like my expectations were in the floor.
I don't know anyone who's truly just a huge fan of the franchise. Like,
fair.
I really don't. I love the first one. I've made no bones about it. It's one of my all-time favorites. But other than that one, the remake is really good. And the beginning's not bad. But
I hated the beginning, but we don't need to go there.
Other than that, I don't ever watch this fucking franchise. And it sucks because I love the original so much. And I think there's so many good things you could do with it that have just never culminated. And do you think that I've been trying to think about this since I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
None of the movies ever have the same sort of vibe or feel from one to the next to the next, other
Mm-hmm.
than the remake in the beginning. Those are
Yeah.
pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that helps or hurts this franchise that they, because if you, let's say you look at Halloween, you've got 1 and 2 go together, then you got 4, 5, and 6, then you got
Mm-hmm.
Rob Zombie. They all kind of have their different eras. Whereas with this,
Yeah.
each time you get a new one, it's just completely different.
Even when it's the same director, like
Yeah.
even Toby Hooper, like
Yeah.
his 2 movies feel totally disjointed tone wise. I thought story wise they fit very well together and was very interesting. But tone, like if you're looking for the same tone and the same visual style, he went a completely different way with it.
Yeah.
It definitely hurts it in terms of popularity because when people watch sequels, they do kind of want the same thing. They want that kind of rinse and repeat, give me the hits. And like you saw that with Texas Chainsaw 2, where he did a very different thing and people didn't like it. People went, this doesn't feel like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And while later on it kind of got a cult following and is one of the good ones now. At the time, it got a big backlash. Halloween 3 took a huge backlash for being a different kind of thing. So I don't know. It probably hurts it. But conceptually, in a land where these movies aren't utter trash, I don't think it would be as much of a problem. You know? Yeah. I would also argue that you could say Halloween sticks a little closer post Season of the Witch, but that I also think that makes Halloween a little less interesting. That's and you run the risk of running out of steam, such as Friday the 13th, which by the time you get to the end of the 80s and Jason Takes Manhattan, people were over it. And they've never been able to get it back to that same place of popularity. So I don't know.
Just talking about bringing characters back. What if they just retcon or didn't acknowledge anything past the first Nightmare on Elm Street and they brought Nancy back, like brand new? Would you take that?
I don't know. I mean, I absolutely adore Freddie and Nancy as like a hero villain thing duo. And I was never thrilled with Dream Warriors and how they handled that. And killing Nancy. Yeah. And I just her general characterization in Dream Warriors. So I guess I wouldn't mind a do-over. But I'm honestly pretty satisfied with New Nightmare being the end of that, even though it's not technically Nancy, but Heather. But I'm pretty satisfied with that being the end of that storyline. And, you know, I don't need to drag 80-year-old Robert Englund and 70-year-old Heather Langenkamp, you know, into their walkers. They're not that old. I shouldn't be mean, but like, I don't know. It definitely wouldn't excite people in the same way that Jamie Lee does.
You're telling me it wouldn't hype you up if you saw Freddie come out with a walker, having to chase Nancy, who's in a walker? That would be wicked. I'd watch that.
Freddie would be pretty easy to pull off because you could just have Robert do the voice.
Yeah.
Like, how have we not thought of that? Like, just have like a stunt guy or like some kind of like good like mime actor that can do sort of the body language well. The makeup and maybe some additional CGI will make the face look okay. Or you could just put it in shadows and not show it too much and then have him dub over it.
Yeah.
I feel like Freddie's the easiest one to do right now. Well, I guess besides Michael, who doesn't talk and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do you got anything else for Texas Chainsaw?
I think fans would be pissed if they did that to Elm Street.
Oh, yeah.
Erasing Dream Warriors. Like, I'm in a camp that doesn't care about Dream Warriors, so I'd be like, all right. But Elm Street fans would be pissed.
That's true.
They would lose. Like, I see a section of Halloween fans that are still mad about David Gordon Green retconning sequels out, which, by the way, the sequels were already retconned out. Like, why are you yelling at David Gordon Green? What do you mean? This is like the third time this has happened.
I was about to say, he's 20 years removed from the last retcon. Like,
and then Zombie before him did an entirely, like, it's whatever. No, I don't have anything more on Texas Chainsaw, obviously.
I do not either. That's why I was just tossing hypotheticals at you. I was like,
sure.
Yeah. Like, sometimes I think I wonder, obviously Halloween doesn't count, but out of Friday the 13th, Nightmare, who's going to make the next one?
Nightmare.
You think so?
Friday the 13th. It's legal
I
problems
know
are
they
too
got all their
much.
legal shit,
Yeah.
but
In a hypothetical world where it's not in an awful legal place, I would think Friday would happen sooner because it's easier. I think it's easier to do Friday the 13th than it is Elm Street because there's a lot of weird hurdles you have to deal with doing New Elm Street. Who's going to play Freddy? The effects, like all of that stuff is a little harder to figure out.
do you have any? I'm looking at like horror news, and all it's talking about is Texas Chainsaw. Do you got any horror news?
I got a couple things. Okay, so the first, we're going to keep it with Texas Chainsaw. Excuse me. So they're starting to promote the game a little bit. They've released some still images, and one of the still images just sort of shows the outside of a house, and there is a truck, and you can see the license plate, and it's sort of like a little hint thing where the license plate, its numbers are 3v4, which we are taking to mean that the live multiplayer matches in that game are going to be a 3 versus 4 scenario. Whether that means 3 survivors versus 4 killers or vice versa, we don't know, but that's the general gameplay that they're hinting at, as opposed to the Friday the 13th game, which was, I think, 7v1, 7 counselors versus 1 Jason, and their Predator game, which I think was 1 Predator versus maybe 4 combat, like veteran people. That was a great way to describe that. Soldiers. But I'm super pumped for that. Like, frankly, I've said this in like either on the podcast or YouTube. I'm not super jazzed about new movies for these franchise. I think video games are a little bit more of a fun venue for them to go into now. I don't think there's much to offer film wise. Still open to new movies and can enjoy them like Halloween Kills, but I'm more excited about video game stuff, I think.
Do they have a release date?
I don't think so yet, but I think it's coming out this year.
Okay.
But I don't think they've said.
I'll have to actually buy a video game console so
video
I can
game
play.
Console.
I don't have one, so I'm gonna have to. I'll have to find out what it is and buy one.
I think it'll be out on everything. I don't think it'll be console specific, and
Wow.
it'll probably be out on PC too.
It is piece of shit computer. Jesus.
Oh, sure. Another piece of news, and this is exciting / hilarious. The old Nightmare on Elm Street TV show, Freddy's Nightmares, is coming to streaming. What's up?
I'm just pumping my face.
Oh, you're pumping. I thought you were raising your hand.
No.
I was calling on you. It is coming to Screambox. Whatever the fuck.
Fuck Screambox.
I don't know. I've never heard of it before. It is a horror streaming service.
Time for a Google.
Its plans, it has a free with ads plan, but the free with ads plan does not include a original or exclusive content. And I imagine Freddy's Nightmares will count as exclusive. So I think the monthly plan is $5. I am really, really bummed that it's not on Shudder because I'm not paying for another streaming service. I think it's already on there. I think it's already on.
I'm looking at it right here. So if people are wanting to know some things on here, Freddy's Nightmares, it's got Masters of Horror, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
The HBO show, right?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find just like a list here. They got it broken down to anthologies: Backwater Butchers, Body Horror, Brutal, Classic, Humorous, Weird.
They had Elvira stuff on there when I looked.
Slashers, yes, they have Elvira on here. I'm not seeing any high named, high quality stuff that people might be.
It's all lower stuff.
Interested in.
Freddy's Nightmares is their biggest get, which is pathetic.
They have the Howling 3 for anyone interested.
Oh, good, the Howling 3.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we got much popping on here. They got Slumber Party Massacre, which you can find anywhere for free ever.
Yeah. Pretty sure it's on Shudder too.
So yeah, guys, unless y'all are just really dying to see Freddy's Nightmares, I might say just stick with Shudder.
And it's a shame because the show's never been released on DVD. I own a bootleg DVD set that are just VHS rips that someone put on to DVDs that I bought off eBay, and I'm content with that. But someone on the Nightmare on Elm Street Reddit did post a side-by-side comparison to show like the quality difference, and they did do a decent job of remastering it. It looks pretty nice. I mean, for a late 80s Freddy Krueger TV show. It's a shame it went to Screambox, like this nothing streaming service, but it's still cool that it's out there and like available to watch. 2 episodes were previously released on the Nightmare on Elm Street Blu-ray box, if anybody has that. And then the final thing I've got is that the trailer for Jordan Peele's Nope was put online and looks super neat. I have no idea what it's about, but it's a cool, like, effective trailer.
Only news I got, because I just read the headline, is that if you Texas Chainsaw 3D fans want to hear what Adam Marcus has to say, he said it was supposed to be a completely different movie. Oh, God, did I mute you? Oh, Jesus. What did I do?
I'm back.
What the hell did I click?
But you did mute me.
My fault. I was like, all of a sudden.
You were like, no more opinions for you.
I was like, yeah, I don't give a shit what you got to say about 3D. Everyone knows that's the best in the franchise. But yeah, that's the only news I got, is if y'all want to hear. I know Adam Marcus gets a lot of hate, but Jason Goes to Hell is fantastic. So
disagree. Worst of the franchise.
How dare you? The gore.
They've all got good gore.
Not 5. Everything about 5 is awful. There's not a good redeeming quality about 5.
I'm curious what he'd say.
I didn't get to deep dive into it. I just saw.
Yeah.
I
don't have much faith in him, but.
What if it was just completely different than what we got? It actually sounds badass. You're like, damn, I wish we would have.
I mean, that happens sometimes, but then like concepts will be similar enough that they'll still get a writing credit.
Yeah. So Adam Marcus slices into the crazy movie that almost was. Let's see if he has any bullet points here. We wanted to. It was going to kick off where the last movie or where the first movie ended, and they loved that. It only makes sense that logically that Sally, when she escaped, the first place she would go is to the police, and the police would go to the Sawyer house, and we would need that scene, and that's what would happen. That's where the whole opening of the movie happened. Okay,
so that happened in the movie minus Sally.
Once we passed that, we created the concept around Texas Chainsaw. Part of that was to show the Sawyers to become diseased and crazy, and that it wasn't just the deliverance mold that they were in. We also wanted flashbacks to Leatherface as a child. We wanted to show his whole history of the Sawyers in this movie. So that's what I guess they wanted to have him written back as a kid.
Don't like. You're losing me, Adam Marcus.
Yeah, apparently he said they wrote out a lot in the pitch meeting and got rid of 15 pages that they didn't like. So yeah, apparently they got rid of a lot of stuff. They couldn't get rid of the goddamn scene where he drives his car into a gate that could have opened in 10 seconds if he wouldn't have just drove it into it. And they would have gotten away safely.
Literally any scene in that movie.
They couldn't have put a little bit of thought into the continuity of how time works.
Or just like set it in the 90s.
Or just set it in the 90s. That would have been a lot easier to do.
If you want your cast to be 20-somethings, like I get that. You want them to be hot, like own it. A 90s set movie would have been cool.
Yeah. One day we'll have to do a ranking of this franchise. I don't even know. Honestly, outside of 3 of them, the others, it's like, fuck, I don't know. Put them wherever you want.
They all suck. I don't care.
Next Generation, as much as I've joked about it so much that it started to grow on me to the point where I actually get a kick out of watching scenes from it, where I'm like, that's pretty good. I've played myself. I started joking about it too much to the point where now I'm like, fuck, I kind of like watching that movie.
I mean, you like watching little bits of it to laugh at. If you actually sat down and tried to watch the whole thing,
dude, there's some
that's
funny
a different story.
There's some funny lines to it where like they're leaving the prom and he's like, show off your tits more. And they're like, Robbie, it's like, what? girls have tits. Like it is like the dumbest line. Matthew McConaughey going unhinged. I was reading his biography because I was like, I got to see what's in there about Texas Chainsaw. There's about a paragraph and a half about it.
Come on, Matthew.
He says the way he got the role was he was supposed to play originally. They did a script rewrite for him. Originally, he was supposed to play the high school like a hero who shows up on a motorcycle and takes her away and saves her, right?
Okay.
But then he was about to go to LA and he said, no, you know what? I want to audition for the villain. So he goes back inside and says, hey, I think I'd rather play the villain. They're like, all right, when can you audition? It's like, right now.
That is such a McConaughey thing to do.
They're like, you need a woman. He's the secretary was like, I'll be the female character. So he walks out and gets like a spoon or something, like pretend it's a weapon, and then comes back in just unhinged, and, like pins her to a wall and is like fucking berating the secretary all crazy to the point where she like broke down in tears. Like, you got the fucking job, Matthew, Jesus. And that's how he got the role. And then he said, I unpacked my U-Haul, stayed for another 8 weeks, finished filming, then went on my way. He said nothing about the movie. He said how he got the role and then he left. There was not a damn word about anything to do with that movie. And I was kind of disappointed. It's a bummer. But
yeah,
I think that's all we got, guys. I think we're Texas Chainsawed out. You can find me on YouTube, Partial Artist. You can find Sean on YouTube, Sean Blumenshine. All of it's linked in the description below. We're now on YouTube, so if you listen on audio, you can see our beautiful faces. It's a great time. But yeah, we will see y'all in 2 weeks.